Hi, Rama. It's week 33, day 4 of our Bible narrative reading plan. Today we are in Daniel chapter 3. And remember, we're going through the time of Judah's captivity. People are being deported. Babylon has taken over. And we've seen that Daniel, Ananiah, Mishael, Azariah, they have been taken captive. They've been sent to Babylon. Jeremiah is remaining back in Judah and being a faithful prophet there, even though he's meeting with very difficult circumstances. So we're shifting back and forth, following the story along. So we've seen Jeremiah, we're back to Daniel today, and in Daniel chapter 3, we have the familiar story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego being thrown into the fiery furnace. Now, Daniel is missing from this story. He's not mentioned. We don't know where he's at, but clearly he's not around because he certainly would not have bowed down to this golden image either. But we see this golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar makes. It's over 90 feet tall, not including the base. It is huge. And he makes this announcement that all people, all languages, all nations, everybody is, when they hear the sound, they're supposed to bow down and worship. And if you don't, you're going to be thrown into the fiery furnace. And so we see verse 7, it happens, the sound is made, and people bow down and worship. And so the reader, we should be left thinking, oh no, God has sent people to Babylon. There are Jews there who are in captivity in Babylon. Are they all bowing down? The question for us is there anyone faithful left amongst God's people? So we see following verse 8 that there's certain Chaldeans, and remember that's just a synonym for the Babylonians, they come forward. They maliciously accuse the Jews, the text says. Verse 12, they start whispering in the king's ear. They're saying, look, there's some people. You've appointed them over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they're not paying you any attention, O king. They're not following your instructions. They're not bowing down. So they have these men brought forward. They come before Nebuchadnezzar. He asks them, is this true? He's being nice at this point. He's basically giving them a second chance. But if you don't do this, if you don't bow down and worship, things are not going to be well and good. You're immediately going to be cast into the fire. Who is this God who delivers you out of my hands? This is Nebuchadnezzar's challenge to them. Verses 16 and 17 and 18 are very critical verses in this passage. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image you have set up. They say, we know God is able to deliver us, but even if he doesn't, we're going to be faithful to our God. We will not bow down and worship this idol. And immediately Nebuchadnezzar's expression on his face changes. He's no longer Mr. Nice Guy. He's filled with anger, filled with hatred toward them. He orders that they be cast into the fiery furnace. He orders that the fiery furnace be made 7 times hotter than it normally is. The people who throw them into the furnace, they're not even able to withstand the heat. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are headed for a certain death, except they do not die. Nebuchadnezzar's watching and waiting, surely expecting to hear their cries of agony as they're thrown into the fire. And he keeps looking. And he asks them, did we not throw 3 men into the fire? I see 4 men walking around in there, and one of them is like a son of the gods. Nebuchadnezzar recognizes that one of them seems to have a heavenly appearance. Now, we can't know for sure if this is one of God's angels or if this is a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ himself. But whoever is in the fiery furnace with them, we see that God is faithful to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're brought out of the furnace, and it says the hair of their heads were not even singed. Their cloaks were not burned. Their clothes didn't even have the smell of fire upon them. God is faithful to his people. This text ought to be an encouragement to believers of all generations. It's a reminder during that period that there were still faithful believers among God's people, and that God would be faithful to them. It's an encouragement to us, even in our day, that God is faithful to us. It doesn't mean our circumstances are easy, but God is always faithful to us. We see that Nebuchadnezzar makes this announcement, and at first we might be tempted to think, well, he becomes a believer. Not sure that that's what's going on just yet. We're going to keep following Nebuchadnezzar's story, but he is acknowledging that this God who delivered them is a God to be honored. I think Nebuchadnezzar's adding the one true and living God. He's adding him to that list of other gods that Nebuchadnezzar would find to be acceptable. But the overall point of the story is that God still has his faithful people, his faithful remnant among Israel, and God is faithful to them. Here's a summary of today's reading. For more information, go to tunemyheart.org.